Yet a lot of attention placed on South African youth unemployment statistics as Youth Month kicks off. This, as Stats SA, as you heard there, set to release its quarterly labour force survey for the first quarter of this year. In the last quarter of 2020, people aged between 15 and 24 were the most unemployed, so to speak. That figure stood at 63.2%. This rate means that 6 out of every 10 young people are sitting at home with no work, study or training opportunities. So Youth Capital is a youth-led advocacy campaign that seeks to reduce unemployment in this demographic. In fact, they've partnered with independent media organization, the Daily Vox, in order to inspire young people to use the power of digital media in order to voice their concerns. For more on what this type of activism entails, let's bring in our guest, Youth Capital project leader, Crystal Duncan-Williams, who joins us now via our video link. Crystal, thanks for making time. It's great to see you and welcome to the program. Perhaps let's start with just understanding how exactly this campaign will work.
So we have done some work through the Daily Vox before, and we've written opinion pieces with them, and we just felt that our values were very aligned. We both believe that young people have the drive, they have the agency, they have the tech savviness to be able to use digital activism, and we've seen it particularly over COVID and the pandemic times, where in-person protests or demonstrations or activism was reduced because of lockdown. And so young people have really taken to digital platforms to make their voices heard, and we thought that as we head into Youth Month, we really wanted to hear from young people who are doing the work across a range of issues, and hear how young people are being the driving force for change in their communities.
Yeah, you know, the real risk, of course, is that in moments like this, we always get a sense that young people are a homogenous group, right? But I'm sure you know that there are different views. How do you prevent a campaign like this from developing echo chambers, where it's people who agree on the same thing, saying the same stuff to each other, as opposed to, you know, seeing through the tenets of activism, which is to change perceptions and mindsets?
Absolutely, and I think here again, this is where we need to use digital means and technology. You know, WhatsApp is such a great tool. So what we do every week is we have an Instagram Live that happens at 6 p.m. on our Facebook page, which is Youth Capital SA, and we have different guests every week and that talk to each other. But in the lead up to that, we have a WhatsApp group that people can join. If you just look for us on socials, you'll find the link. And we ask for young people in that group to post questions. So anybody's welcome in the group. We tell them what the topic is for the week. This week, we'll be talking about the cost of job seeking, very relevant for young people in South Africa. Last week, we had a really great conversation around climate change. And so we ask young people to post questions, and there's no holds barred. So whatever questions come through, the two speakers will discuss. And so in that way, we try to be as inclusive as possible. We're obviously cognizant of the fact that data and connectivity issues do limit some young people from participating in this way. But we believe that through having a WhatsApp channel, we are making it as accessible as is possible for young people to feed into that conversation. And we try to be solutions focused, because we can all just become quite stuck in, as you say, echo chamber of all the problems without us ever moving forward.
For those struggling to connect the dots, help us understand how those rigorous discussions can lead to material change, specifically in shifting the dial on youth unemployment in the country.
So we at Youth Capital, our sole purpose for existing is because we believe that all solutions for youth unemployment have been very top-down, and we haven't listened to young people and what their experiences are. And as you've already said, that's a heterogeneous group of people, and to try to find a one-size-fits-all top-down model is not going to work. And so we constantly engage with young people, and then what we do is we engage with policymakers. At national government, we try to speak to provincial governments to start thinking about what are the policies that exist, how can we make sure that the implementation of these policies really addresses the challenges on the ground, because I think that's often where we fall flat. We don't really understand what it's like for young people on the ground. So for example, we have just run a survey with the school assistants who are part of the Basic Education Employment Initiative. And so what we're doing there is we ran a survey with 3,000 young people responded, around 100 school management teams responded with their experience, and we're putting that together with NGOs who work with those young people and presenting that as a policy brief to the DBE, to the Portfolio Committee for Basic Education. We're working on that now. So that's one example of how we bring together, young people's experiences and their voices with, at a government level, which is where you need those voices to be heard.
Yeah, this is all happening under the banner of #BeTheDrivingForce. In fact, it's a new series that's been run under this campaign with a specific focus on the name itself. Help us get a better sense of the role that you're hoping young people will be able to play in this particular series.
So we know that from all of our work with young people that they have a lot of energy, they have a lot of ideas, they have a lot of drive, but they often don't know where to go with those ideas. It can feel very overwhelming. How do you address somebody in parliament? How do you get through to somebody? Maybe people don't respond to your emails. And so we're really trying to inspire, confidence to say you can be the driving force, and we're giving you a platform to do that. We know that you have the knowledge. We know that you have the ideas. We know that you have the energy, and we're just providing a platform for that. So, you be the driving force in this. It's not youth capital, it's young people themselves, it's not Youth Capital, the Daily Vox, it's young people themselves.
Yeah. How are you distilling which of the issues to start with first, given what we both agree is a very heterogeneous community of people? Young people see things quite radically differently sometimes, and it might be difficult to prioritize which of the issues should be salient at which point.
Absolutely. And so, that's why the campaign's been running. We started in May and we're going all the way through to the beginning of July. So it's, it's a youth month campaign, but it's spanning, quite a few weeks to try to cover a range of topics. And the Daily Vox is a very big network. And, it's through their network that they raised some issues. And then we gave feedback on what we think are the things that come up in the discussions we have with young people. We have WhatsApp conversations around various topics all the time. We run polls on our social media. And so we think we have a good sense of what young people are talking about and what they're interested in. And so I think at the end of the series, it would be interesting to hear from those that have participated. Have we missed anything? Is there anything that you think we maybe should have covered in the series and we haven't? And that would be, we always welcome feedback. We don't believe we're the experts. We believe young people are. And so we always want to hear from them.
Yeah. Speak to me about ways through which we can bring new voices to the discourse. In my experience, and this is in no way a representation of the full experience itself, quite often, they are the same people who are confident enough to speak out, and their views are considered to be the general view, when quite frankly we know that's sometimes quite a distance from the truth.
Absolutely. And, in my experience as well, young people, we talk about youth participation in policy and in change, and it's often very tokenistic because it's the same young people that are always in the room. And so, again, that's what we say. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on WhatsApp, on our youthcapital.co.za page, there's a little WhatsApp button, slide into our DMs. If you're not comfortable to speak in the group, then speak to us one-on-one, and we really hope we're opening the channels for young people to talk to us, because we know that somebody might not be comfortable speaking in a big group. And so we hope that young people will feel comfortable using one of these channels to get in touch with us.
Yeah, it's really affirming sometimes being in the company of people who think alike, and I think in that respect this will become a great campaign. But many might be disillusioned when they start asking what happens after that. The campaign runs its course till July. Do you get the sense that there's an appetite from the places where decision makers are seated to hear whatever comes from this campaign, but not only that, to see through recommendations, for lack of a better term?
I think there is an appetite, particularly, from the youth policy stakeholders. So if you think about the NYDA and the Department of Women, Youth and People with Disabilities, the National Youth Policy has just come out, and from conversations with these policymakers, I think there's an appetite for them to really include young people. They keep telling us when things are out for comment, but I don't think that government really understands how to engage with young people in a meaningful way, and like you say, a non-tokenistic way. And so we are trying to position ourselves to say we'll do that work for you and try to make sure that young people's voices are included in a meaningful and broad way.
Right.
And work with us to hear those voices and have it feed into decisions that are made.
It really sounds great what you're saying, Crystal. Help us understand what it means practically, though, because the other sham, dare I say, is just making sure that young people are seated at the table when we know that they're patronized half the time and whatever they say is not taken seriously.
Absolutely. You know, I was having a conversation the other day to say we can't just say we want young people there. We have to we have to open the door to young people. We have to give them a seat at the table, and we have to be able to listen to them. And I think that, you know, these are all very important things that often get lost.
Yeah.
And I am encouraged. I've been doing this, you know, running this youth capital for 3 years now. And that time, I've definitely seen a change in decision-making spaces where people are starting to listen to young people, you know, not just to say, here's a spot for you, but to say, right, what do you have to say? And to give young people the space. And I'm encouraged by that. And I think, again, digital platforms make it easier for young people to be engaged, and we should leverage that.
Very quickly, how do young people specifically, get involved?
Any of our social media pages, it's Youth Capital SA. You'll find us there, follow us. We post the links for all the conversations. Please join our Instagram live at 6 p.m. tomorrow on our Instagram page. And if you follow our pages, you'll also be able to get access to that WhatsApp group to post questions for the speakers.
Crystal Duncan Williams, thanks very much indeed for your time. Really appreciate it. Hopefully young people take up this opportunity, but more importantly, hopefully it's an opportunity that leads to material change in their own conditions. Great work that you're doing. Thanks very much indeed. Crystal is with Youth Capital Project. In fact, she's with Youth Capital. She's part of the Project Lead campaign.